Today on the 1012 softball show, we've teased it for weeks, but it's finally here. Eric Lopez and Brady Vernon of Softball America are here to discuss their Bracketology Battle. Discuss whether or not certain teams should be the number one seed. Look at the Big 12, of course, who could host, who could make the bracket, who's going to be on the outside looking in. Plus, Arizona pitcher Devyn Netz, current Big 12 pitcher of the week, joins us on the 1012 softball show.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
Welcome to the 1012 Softball Show. You're part of the 1012 Podcast Network. Partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. Don't forget to find every show in the 1012 Network, of course, at 1012network.com. You know what we do here on Thursdays. We talk softball. We is, of course, look, she is the mother of the Cycloneers. She is the most famous Iowa State softball alum. She is the Quad City Queen. She is the trash talk champion of the 1012 Network. Her intro gets longer and longer and longer every week. She knows every guest we have on. She's Baylor head coach Glenn Moore's best friend. She is Lea Nelson.
I was going to see how long that was going to be, but thank you. I really appreciate it. I can always count on you, Phillip, to hype me up every single week. So thank you.
I think the goal now is just how many more things can we add to
yes.
it? Do you have our Quad City report for us for later in the show?
I do. I'm so ready for it.
Excellent. Okay, great. So if you plan on traveling to the Quad Cities this weekend, Lea will tell you where you need to be and what you need to do. While I don't have as many titles for him, that does not make his any less impressive. One half, I would argue the more impressive half, but hopefully he doesn't hear us say that, of In the Circle podcast, the voice of UCF softball and one of the best voices when it comes to the Big 12 conference softball. He is Eric Lopez.
Appreciate that. Nobody's going to take offense to that. I don't disagree with any of that statement. That works for me.
No, it's not you I'm worried about taking offense to being called the best half of the In the Circle podcast. We have a very fun show scheduled today. I've kind of teased this for a few weeks as what we were planning to do. I don't see that he actually brought his entourage with us, but I think that's because his entourage is still sick, but that's okay. We're still happy to have him joining us today for what we're calling our Battle of the Brackets. Bumps. He is Brady Vernon of Softball America. Brady, welcome back to the show, man.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I don't want to take away from Leah's best friend, Glenn Moore, but he really does love my child, and I think that's only because his name is Baylor.
I forgot about that. We talked about that last year, Brady. Oh, wait, that's pretty crazy. I think Coach Moore would love anyone and everyone, though. He seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah,
not taking away from your baby, though.
He sent them some shirts. So you got some Baylor gear. Yeah, really appreciate Coach Moore for that.
That is the sweetest thing ever. Oh my goodness. I love that.
See, we love Coach Moore here.
Yes.
On the 1012. Lea, look, Lea, we all love you, but if it's you versus a baby.
I know. I was literally like, right when Brady said that, I'm like, well, my cred just went out the window.
I'm going to change my notes to say Lea Nelson, Coach Glenn Moore's second best friend behind Baylor Vernon.
Right.
We are here because there is 1 week left in the regular season before conference tournaments kick off. And then, of course, we will find out who will be invited to the postseason to take part in regional action. So I have invited the two college softball bracketologists. That is the end of the list. If someone else is doing brackets, like, congrats to them. This is the list. Okay. This is the Warren Nolan and I forget all the basketball ones because I've had sick kids for 2 straight weeks and I've had 4 straight nights of being woken up at least 3 times in the night by them. So, and also the dog. I don't really want to get into it with the dog. Oh, we're not going to old yeller him just yet. But Eric and Brady, we're going to talk about brackets today. We're going to compare what you guys have. Of course, Eric's can be found at D1 Softball. We love them. And Brady's can be found at Softball America. Let's start with where I'm going to pick my one complaint from both of you to start things off. I am going to be called biased here. And that's fine. Not by you two, but by listeners of this show who maybe follow a certain team. But I don't think you should get to be a number 1 overall seed if you have a non-conference strength of schedule in the sub 200. And I understand what Oklahoma has done, and I understand that they are very likely to win the SEC. But if you're going to have a sub 200 strength of schedule in the non-conference, I don't think you should be allowed to be the number 1 overall seed. But you both have them there. Brady?
No, it's justified, and we talked about that on our bracket show, and it's a big thing. They always talk about it, but all season long, I've just said that they're going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're Oklahoma, and I think the biggest thing also in their factor is that they have the most top 10 wins in the RPI, and if the committee really looks at that and looks at they've swept 3 teams in that top 10, I think that's just going to be the kind of case. And when you're the 4-time defending national title winners, you're going to get that benefit of the doubt in my mind.
See,
we just lost Eric.
Whatever he was going to say, I don't know if we can trust now.
all right. See, it was so shocking that I got plugged out.
Here he comes.
There we go. I'm back.
There he is. Okay, Eric, go ahead. Nah, I'm losing everyone. This is going well. This is going really well tonight.
All right. Is this better now? Let's try that. Phillip, I see what you're trying to do.
There he is.
You got me now. The technical glitch. I unplugged my microphone because it's acting up for some reason. Clearly, it's not a computer issue. It's a microphone issue. Here's the thing. Couple of things. I want to get a couple of disclaimers here. First, contrary to people's beliefs, me and Brady actually get along because we're both suffering Dolphin fans and Heat fans. So we actually have a lot in common in that regard. And so we sympathize with each other with our respective mediocrity of teams. Second of all, Phillip, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to start something there with Oklahoma. Normally, you're right. 100% you're right. My counter to you, Phillip, is who would you put at number 1 right now?
If I had to switch them out for someone else, as much as I don't necessarily want to.
If we went by your rule, because
I would put A&M.
Who does not have as many top 10 wins as Oklahoma, as Brady mentioned, has a softer SEC schedule than Oklahoma, which the committee does have that as a reference. They can look within the conference as far as conference scheduling. So while you're right,
that's fine. But what do you control? Your conference strength of schedule or your non-conference strength of schedule? And because if we're going to compare the two, OU's is terrible, and Texas A&M's is currently ranked 6th in the country.
For sure. Well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Brady, but I think Brady would agree with me. This is fluid. This is not like it's a lock. It's not like this changes. In fact, I would say Oklahoma has to win the SEC tournament to keep the 1 seed. Like if an A&M wins the SEC, if a Florida wins an SEC, it could change drastically. So I think we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and to that point, and when I talk with Gray Robertson, like he just does the hosts and he doesn't do the full picture of the 64. And that thing is like when I do the full picture, when Eric does the full picture, like we have to do the automatic bids for someone, we have to give it to someone, and that there's naturally going to be a bump there because they won more games with that automatic bid, the tournament. So that was another little thing for me because like he didn't, like Gray did not have like OU number one, but I did because of like things like that. And I also think in Eric's interview with Kurt McGuffin, like they talked about like sometimes you don't know like the other side, like if OU, like some teams won't play OU because they're OU, so sometimes it is sometimes hard to get those non-cons that they want.
I think there's validity to that. That's fine, but sub 200. Okay. Looking through you guys' brackets, and I would suggest to everybody, if you're not subscribed to D1 Softball and Softball America, we are subscribed to both because both do a great job. Both put out great content. Both are great resources when covering college softball as a whole. I don't mean to pit you against each other or another. You guys like each other. No arguments there. Look, I get the SEC has been really good this season. I get that they are the best conference in college softball this season. It is. The numbers back it up. It's not particularly close. We can debate RPI and how much we should be paying attention to it or not. But there are, at a certain point, like if you're the committee and you're trying to set up a bracket that makes sense, there's a lot of SEC hosts this year from both of you.
You're not wrong. 9 SEC. I have 9. I think Brady, you got 9 as well. I think we're both on the same page on the SEC sites. This is nothing new. This has happened. Actually, it's a lot more egregious in baseball. If you look at the baseball brackets,
oh yeah,
that's become an SEC ACC invitational. But that's just the way it is. With the addition of Oklahoma and Texas is at 9. Really, the only one I think you can nitpick about is Alabama. And the problem is Alabama's actually won enough games, and with their strength of schedule, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're Alabama. But I think 9, again, that's kind of the advantage that the SEC has from that standpoint. But I don't, I think the bigger thing you might have a question with is how many of the SEC teams should be in the top 8. I don't think we're going to see it. That could be proven wrong. I don't think we're going to see 7 or 8 SEC teams in the top 8, for example. I do think we could see 6. That's what I have right now is 6. But I don't think you're going to see all of a sudden 1 through 6, for example, all SEC teams. I think the committee will mix it up a little bit because of that concern that you have right there, Phillip, which is, does it become overly too much SEC? Now you get criticized for being an SEC apologist if you're from a committee standpoint.
Yeah, and I get the sentiment, and like I've had the same kind of discussions that like I don't think the committee is going to put more than 6 unless they have to. Like I think there's a situation that if like Florida State does not win the series this weekend against Virginia Tech, that they're just going to be forced out of it. And then I think like UCLA is the other one that's the best there with their resume. But at the end of the day, like I forget the exact stat, but like the SEC has an insane record against everyone else this year, and that's why the RPI is so high for everyone. And they've kind of established that. I mean, even like, Missouri's not going to make the tournament, but they still have like a top 30 RPI. And that's what makes it so tough because like if you're in that top 18 of the RPI, you're going to be very heavily considered, and they're like all in there. So whether or not we like the metrics or not, that's what kind of the foundation of everything is. And that's just what we kind of have to go by.
Yeah, look, they did well in non-con. You had Auburn and South Carolina, who were both incredible in non-conference and kind of came back down to earth. And so it benefited them as a whole. And so it is what it is this year. We've talked a lot this year. There's a lot of young rosters. It's just across the country. And I think you had some teams in the SEC who had great runs in non-conference who have come back down to earth, but because they were able to do that, it's boosted the entire SEC up. So we're going to see everybody but Missouri get into it this year. Enough SEC talk and former Big 12 talk. Let's talk about or former Big 12 talk. Yeah, let's talk about the Big 12 itself here for just a minute. Look, I cannot disagree with the notion of probably only having 2 Big 12 teams as hosts. Arizona, absolutely, they have done enough this season. I know their RPI is down to 11. Again, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but it is what it is, just based off the way the numbers are working. I think they should probably. I think they're playing like a top 8 seed, but it is what it is. Texas Tech. We talk about where you need to be. And despite continuing to finally pick up good wins here on the back half of the season, Texas Tech seems to be stuck at 20 in the RPI. Now, obviously, 3 games against BYU this weekend can be very helpful. The Big 12 tournament, depending upon who all they get to face there, could continue to boost them up. I mean, if you're looking at Texas Tech right now, you both have them in as hosts. One of you has them at 16, one of you has them at 15, which I think is probably fair. Like, do you feel confident that if Texas Tech would be in today? Or do they have to win the Big 12 tournament to feel good on Selection Sunday about getting a hosting spot? Or do you feel like as long as they don't take a bad loss, like in the first game of the Big 12s in OKC, they should feel pretty good?
I mean, if you want to wake up Sunday morning and feel like you're going to host, then yes, I think you need to win the tournament and ensure yourself like the BYU series win. Obviously, it's just you got to leave no doubt. They're also benefiting from some other factors. Like Auburn's RPI is still high, but their resume is not good enough to the point right now that they can host, and they're kind of just running off like being at number 1 for a really long time. And the fact that they've already come out and said that Stanford cannot host, like they're not going to get a national seed with that resume anyways. So they're definitely going to be on the road. So you're knocking out 2 teams already in front of them in the RPI. And that's been my biggest caveat. And like they still have a good amount of top 25 wins, being in mind that they need Nebraska to keep winning as well and keep another one there. But obviously, I think if they pick up one more against either Oklahoma State or Arizona in the Big 12 tournament, I think you're probably feeling really good as long as Virginia Tech doesn't win the series against Florida State this weekend as well.
Well, I think part of the problem that's hurt Texas Tech is their Big 12 schedule is kind of backloaded. Not for example, Arizona just happened, Arizona State just happened. You got BYU here. So I think that's what the issue there is. Plus, they probably lost a game or two, like the Idaho game in the North Texas that week was kind of dumbfounding. So they're playing catch up, but I think they have the most ceiling. They could go as super high. Like I think if they win the Big 12 title, I would not be shocked if they skyrocketed up to 12, 11 seed range. Like they have a lot of rocket fuel. I think the obvious answer is win the Big 12 tournament. You're hosting because you just don't know what's going to happen elsewhere. Who's going to win the ACC? What if Virginia Tech wins the ACC? What if a Mississippi school wins the SEC? Now that changes the whole course. We've seen that happen. So if you're Texas Tech, you want to make sure you're locked it up. Plus, you don't know if one of your competition could be Oklahoma State. What if you lose to Oklahoma State? Could that be the difference maker between one or both of them hosting? You don't know. So I would say the safe thing is get to the final, and then we might as well win it with Niger at that point. But I think they could still host if they get to the final, because I do think, depending on how this bracket plays out, they could play a UCF, for example, early. That would be a top 50 win, potentially. If they get, let's say, an Arizona State or somebody like that in the semis, that's another top 50 upside. So they've got a chance to really skyrocket their resume here. But if they trip up a time or two or get bounced early in the Big 12 tournament, it could get tricky. Now, I will say this. Let me give you this wild scenario, because crazier things have happened. What if Stanford won the ACC? Brady just mentioned it. They can't host. But they could still be a 1 seed. Where are you going to send them? Lubbock could send them there. So either way, and I know people are going to call conspiracy on that, but really, if you look at it from a seeding standpoint, Stanford, Texas Tech makes sense from a seeding standpoint. So watch for that.
Look, stories sell. If you're the committee, I don't know how you don't try and stick Stanford at Texas Tech just for the drama of it, the excitement of it. That's one of the hottest tickets in Texas, if that actually occurs and Stanford goes down there. Brady was pulling some just straight up evil stuff, sending Arizona State to Texas A&M to face their former head coach in his bracket. That's just mean, Brady. That's mean stuff there, man.
Sometimes it just plays out that way. maybe there was just some internal feelings there, being the ASU alum that I am and my personal relationship with Trisha Ford. But yeah.
Okay. I have been on the train for a few weeks now, and Lea and Eric can both support me in this. Oklahoma State will not host this season. I don't think it's happening. They just keep dropping games that you can't drop if you're going to do that. Like dropping a game on Sunday to Kansas as opposed to sweeping that series. They've got 3 games against Utah this weekend that we'll talk about here in a bit. That, yeah, I'm not picking OSU to sweep anybody at this point. We'll see. What would it actually take for the Big 12 to get 3 hosts? Arizona, we feel confident in. That would be Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, both doing enough somehow down the stretch. Or is it so much about what they have to do and as much as it is what other people would have to have happen to them to find both those teams sneaking in, even if it's a 14, 15, 15, 16 national seed situation?
Ooh, now we're getting juicy here. First of all, Oklahoma State, no non-negotiable. Got to be in the Big 12 title game to have any shot at conversation. This is not the year, Phillip, to bounce in the early rounds, okay? Not the year. You do that, if they get bounced early, anything before that, you might as well just get your regional tickets in Fayetteville ready to go, Phillip.
I'm already making plans, looking for hotels in Fayetteville now, okay? Like, I've been doing that for the last week.
Smart move.
So, yeah.
Smart move. All right, but I'll play your game, the scenario. It's Oklahoma State, Texas Tech final, Big 12 title game. One of them beats Arizona in the semis, okay? Elsewhere, Alabama gets bounced in the opening round of the SEC tournament. Virginia Tech, no, they're probably in. But let's say Clemson gets bounced early ACC tournament, or Duke gets bounced early in the ACC by somebody they shouldn't be bounced by. There's your path to a 3 Big 12 team regional hosting, possibly.
Yeah, I would say the same sentiment. You probably would need like an Oklahoma State, Texas Tech final. You probably want Oklahoma State to win the game to get there for 3. And, to all of Eric's points, like seeing one of those ACC teams bounce early, which has been fine. And like, especially Duke has a little bit out of the same struggles Oklahoma State's had, losing a game here, a game there. Or maybe just hope the committee really, really hates Oregon's resume. That's just
no. Listen,
one.
No, that's a good point, Brady. No, that is actually a very valid point about Oregon. We forgot to talk about Oregon and bring them up because they're going to play Michigan State this weekend, so that's not going to help the schedule strength at all. And the problem is, at least Oklahoma has a tough schedule in the SEC. Oregon can't even claim that in the Big Ten. So if Oregon gets bounced early in the Big Ten tournament, if you're Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, that's what you're rooting for. That's actually your best case, is Oregon gets bounced early against a Big Ten team that's not in the field. With that schedule strength, I could easily see a flip there where Oklahoma State, that Brady's a great point about Oregon, because we've forgotten them, their schedule strength. We focus on Oklahoma, but Oregon's schedule strength's got a lot more issues to deal with than, say, in Oklahoma, because the Big Ten just is not a very good deep league.
Let's go to all words for formatting.
Oregon currently 158th ranked non-conference strength of schedule, 60th ranked strength of schedule overall, 27 games against quad 4 opponents, 27 of their 50 games, more than half of their games, quad 4. So like again, 45-5. It's a great record.
It's got a lot of Minnesota 2017 vibes. For those that may not remember, Minnesota, Brady, you know this, was up there in the rankings, dominated the Big Ten, had a gaudy record, won the Big Ten tournament, and then that was the year Ole Miss came out of nowhere to win the SEC tournament. The committee kind of panicked, like, all right, somebody's not going to host. It was Minnesota because of their weak schedule within the Big Ten in particular, but overall, and that was very controversial because Minnesota was actually ranked number 1 in the country by the polls, but they don't matter in the so Oregon is the one. If you're a Big 12 fan, if you're Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, you're anti-Oregon. Like, you're rooting for Michigan State to take a game this weekend, for example, if you're Oklahoma State, because the one thing Oklahoma State has, and I was the last one to have to be on the boat of Oklahoma State hosting, but their non-conference schedule strength is as good as it gets from a bubble standpoint. They play a ton of games away from home. They do have good wins, so it's not like it's a big leap. Honestly, Oklahoma State has fumbled away this hosting to this point.
If we want to talk storylines, nothing would be better than a 1-16 matchup between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
Oh, Brady. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I would watch. It would, that'd be fine. Arkansas could avoid Oklahoma State for a third year in a row. That's what Arkansas wants. See. Sorry, that joke will never die. Looking at the rest of the Big 12, look, we know that those three teams are going to be in Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. We feel good about. I feel like we're pretty confident in UCF, given they are currently 30th in the RPI. I feel good about them. I feel pretty good with Arizona State. I think picking up that win on Sunday over Texas Tech, they're at 38 in the RPI, but I feel like that win, they're off this week, so they don't nothing to affect their resume. And then to the Big 12 tournament, don't lose your opener against a bad team. And I feel confident Arizona State is in as well. So those five I feel good about. After that, Iowa State, dropping the Iowa mid-game, dropping a game against Utah that's an RPI killer. BYU and Baylor, BYU dropping that series. At this point, do we feel who left in the Big 12 has an actual legitimate shot at getting in as an at-large team into the tournament this year?
Baylor. Baylor's the team. They have the schedule strength. They're playing well now. They play Iowa State this weekend. Let's say, Lea, turn off the ears there. You don't want to hear this.
No, I just perked up right when I heard.
If Baylor wins the series or sweeps Iowa State, okay, gets to the Big 12 championships, wins a couple of games, they could sneak in because you look at I got to tell you guys, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Brady, but I think Brady would agree with me. That bubble from about 62 to 64 is not really strong. Like, I would argue there's two spots that it's begging, somebody, take us, please. And I think if Baylor were to get hot with that schedule strength, they have, I believe, 8 top 50 wins very quietly. I understand they have some bad losses, but if they show here down the stretch that they're playing at a good level, that might overtake a Coastal Carolina, for example, that has been limping into the finish line, or an Indiana that has a brutal non-conference schedule and only has a win against Nebraska and Ohio State to show for on their resume as far as teams in the field. So, yes, I think Baylor has a shot. I think BYU's problem, we've discussed this ad nauseum, is their non-conference schedule is brutal, and they don't have enough time. They don't even have as good of a resume as last year's BYU team that didn't get in. And Iowa State, I think, unfortunately shot themselves by losing the Utah game. It plummeted them into the 60s. Like, I was prepared. Yeah. I was prepared to write this paragraph about let's make a case for Iowa State in the 50s, even though they're in the low 50s, but then they shot to 60, and that's not going to happen. So,
thank you, Eric.
Baylor. I'm sorry. I was ready for it.
I know.
It hurt me. And then they lose to Iowa, too. That's
right.
like,
and I know that hurt Coach Pink because he's never lost to Iowa
until
before.
Then.
I know.
That's correct. But I think Baylor, it's a big if. I'm not suggesting it's going to happen. But Baylor's the team that's your best shot if you're the Big 12 is getting a 6-team in.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Eric said. The only path I kind of see for BYU is if they win the series against Texas Tech. But good luck.
Yeah.
The bubble is very poor. I mean, you even throw like Michigan in there. The RPI is there, but the resume is just not good. And then you have Coastal, who added 2 more quad 4 losses, and they're up to 5 now. They're kind of just asking someone to take the spot, and even other teams that are like, next 4 out, they're struggling too. You have like a team like with Wisconsin who lost like a series to Northwestern, who's even further behind. And so the door is open, especially if you win that series, you add some more top 100 wins, and you kind of make a run. And I think if ASU didn't win that last game, I think I had a little bit of concerns, but I think also the biggest thing for them is I think they're going to avoid the 6-11 matchup, which they're going to avoid a bad loss as well. And so I think that's another thing for Baylor is they're going to have to keep winning games and probably win against better teams. So just like what Eric said, I think that's your pathway for it. And just hope that there isn't the stolen bids with the conferences with really high RPIs, kind of like Liberty and Conference USA, FAU with the American. You can probably say GCU and the WAC as well. You probably want those three to win their conference titles.
Yeah, it's a really good point on those bubble thieves. Like, you don't want the bubble to shrink if you're Baylor, because that's how you get right there real close, and all of a sudden a couple of teams pick up automatic qualifying wins that knock you out. So, I mean, it's very precarious. I really thought for a little while we might get 6 or 7 Big 12 teams this year, and it just hasn't been able to happen. I mean, Baylor having the down year and Iowa State's rise coming on too late. BYU again. I love Gordon Eakin. 195th ranked non-conference schedule ain't gonna cut it, Gordon. You gotta do better. You just do, man. You just do. I know Eric's got to get out of here.
I got a few minutes. I got a few more. I got a few, but yeah.
I know you. I know. I'm just making
sure. I'm getting warmed up now. You got me all like wired up here, ready to go.
Good. I want you two to make a prediction. Again, we got a couple weeks left, but I want you both to make a prediction, because the committee always finds some way to do something that makes us all go, "What? Because every committee does this: basketball, baseball, softball. But every year there's something in softball we all just look at and go, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they saw. I don't know if there was a one-eyed man in there who made the final decision. Whatever it was, we don't know. What do you see as the potential? What were they thinking from the committee this year, just based off the experience you guys have covering the sport and kind of looking at where you think things should be, but what might potentially happen?
Well, let Brady go first on that one, because I could go hours on this one. Go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like this year I don't know if there's that one that's just crazy. Like we're talking like Bama number 5 seed, like everyone freaked out a couple years ago. The one that I'm still having a hard time with is I think there is a pathway where Texas does not get a top 8 seed because of the non-conference strength of schedule, as well as the fact that they have a ton of top 25 wins, they do not have a top 10 wins. And so that's another thing. And if they struggle down the stretch, obviously they get Kentucky this weekend. But the back half of the SEC schedule, you lose a series to Tennessee at home, you get swept by Oklahoma, like you bow out of the SEC tournament right away. Like I think that's something, because they don't have a great resume. Their RPI isn't high up like everyone else. And, if other teams in the SEC make a statement, that might be a stolen spot for the top 8.
I like the Texas one. I think that is very well played on that. I have them as 8 right now. I think some people might be surprised by that, but they're, you talk about schedule strength, some of their, metrics, not super great. I would not be shocked. Like the one that could shock people is a Texas-like or Tennessee not be a top 8 team. People are like, what? How did that happen? I could see that very well play out that way. Tennessee, has the great wins at top 10s, but they don't have a lot of top 25 wins, which is very bizarre. That could surprise some people. I think Alabama is always going to be a type of situation where people are going to think they're going to seed too high or too low. So that's always going to be one that the committee's going to – right. Like you mentioned, Brady brought up the year they were at 5 seed, even though they were in the team the whole time. And then there was the year where everybody thought they'd be a top 4 seed where they were an 8 seed. So – Alabama's and Oklahoma, in all fairness, felt to go full circle. I do think Oklahoma is a very fascinating team of what the committee does with them, because it goes against everything they talk about. But it's Oklahoma. So they will set the tone for the rest. If you're an Oregon fan, if you're a Texas fan, you're rooting for Oklahoma actually to get as high of a seed as possible. Because if you somehow see Oklahoma drop to 4-5 seed, you're in trouble. Like if Oklahoma is 4-5 seed, Oregon's not going to host, in my view, because at that point the message has been you're not going to be able to schedule. So those are some of the things to whoa moments. it could get wild. And I think the conference tournaments will certainly play a role in that, because I do think Oklahoma still has to win the SEC tournament, probably to keep that 1 seed. Otherwise, they could drop because it's such a fluid situation with them.
Brady mentioned Tennessee, or Eric, you mentioned Tennessee. Absolutely wild stat. Tennessee is 15-11 against top 25 quad 1 RPI teams. They have not played a quad 2 RPI team this season. 0-0.
It's weird. And that's going to make that's hard for the committee to figure out. What do you do with that, right? Like it's great. You got 15 wins in quad 1, but then it's only 15 in top 50. So why did you, so there's a lot of quirkiness that they got to figure out. Not just them. Arkansas, if you look at Arkansas, they don't have a marquee non-conference schedule win, but they have great top 10 wins. So how do you balance that out? That's the challenge that the committee has. And me and Brady, because we don't sleep.
It's wild. Like the SEC won so many non-conference games, and they have enough teams like Auburn, who's got a great non-conference, Florida A&M, but then like Oklahoma and Texas came in. Oklahoma's is 180th now, I think. If I'm looking at the NCAA nitty gritty, Oklahoma's non-con has actually risen up to 180, which is wow. Texas is up to, or is it 114? Oregon is 158. Like, they've always talked about non-conference matters. And I get it. There's no tried and true rules. We just make this up as we go along every year. Unless it's the women's basketball tournament, in which case it's just, what's their RPI? Congratulations. You get that seed. But it'll be interesting to see, based off things they have said in the past, how much they stand by that for this year.
Well, I will say this. There is a chance. This year to me feels one more than recent, where I could see where me and Brady look really bad on Selection Sunday. I hope you're ready, Brady. Because it's a very volatile situation because of what you have brought up, Phillip. The schedule strength, there's a lot of stuff works. It's not as clear. Like last year was clear cut. Everybody knew OU Texas 1-2. It was pretty clear stuff. It's a little cloudier this year, so there could be a lot of wow moments this year at Selection Sunday. So just sympathize with people like me and Brady, please. Thank you. That's all I ask.
I came up with an analogy, and I'm pretty proud of it. But the selection committee is basically like playing a backyard game with the big brother. Like, they get to make the rules, and they don't have to follow them. And so that's just like how I feel. Like, sometimes, like, I'm always like, oh, well, this is just my vibe here. Like, and on like the non-con, they kind of gave a break in 2021 a little bit with the COVID scheduling. My only thing is, like, maybe they give them a break for the teams that switch conferences because you're doing new things. I don't know. I don't see it, but you never know.
That's going to come across bad if it's, well, we wanted to give the SEC the benefit of the doubt, but they don't need the benefit of the doubt. But, and that is an interesting thing this year with the Pac-12 is gone. You have this SEC that has been statistically better than everybody else, but it's such a loaded conference. How does that play? Like, how does the committee view the SEC with all the teams that are in it now versus how do you view Oregon, whose football program screwed the softball program up by sticking them in an absolutely god-awful softball conference, and then the ACC and the Big 12 and all these things. It's going to be really interesting to see how it stacks up this year, because there's been just so much change and upheaval this last off season to this year that it's just again, I don't know how many times I talk about, like, the fact that Arizona State UCF is a Big 12 conference series is never going to be normal to me, like, ever. It's not.
Speak for yourself. You should see the trash talking that Brady and I do with UCF Arizona State played. And then you got UCF's SID Ryan, who's good friends with Brady, who's an Arizona State alum, but obviously works at UCF. So he's conflicted. So it's all good.
Yeah. Matt Ryan.
Of course, we both have to hear it from Lea, Brady. We both had to hear it from Lea.
Well, that's the thing. Leah's team, all our three alliances are going to make the NCAA tournament. But Lea has, like, the crown of being 3-0.
Wow. Yeah. Oh.
Was that an insult wrapped in a compliment?
I think it was. Like, at first I was like, Brady, and then I was like, wait, Brady?
No, it's the when Harry Met Sally line. It sounds like a compliment, but it's really an insult.
I think.
See, and then it comes off.
Okay. This has been awesome. Before we get to, I forgot to mention, we do have an interview today. We finally got an Arizona guest, Devyn Netz, current Big 12 pitcher of the week, 2-time Big 12 pitcher of the week. And as we have mentioned on the show a few times, at least my Big 12 player of the year, I think we all, myself, Lea, and Eric have kind of agreed on that as leader in the clubhouse. And I would be shocked if she's not. She's going to be coming up here in just a few minutes. Let's at least quickly talk about what we've got on the slate for the Big 12 conference this weekend, final conference of the regular season.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
We know that Texas Tech is the 1 seed for the tournament. They have won the regular season title. That is wrapped up. But the full standings are not set. We don't exactly know what the seeding is going to be for the Big 12 tournament just yet. You've got Arizona's 1 game ahead of Iowa State. Arizona State a couple of games back. Because Oklahoma State missed 2 games against Houston, you got BYU and OSU, both who have 9 losses, but BYU's got the better win percentage because they played 2 extra games. Baylor's there at 10-11. There's a lot to be decided left in the Big 12 this weekend. So let's just kind of quickly run through what we've got in the schedule this weekend with a look towards the Big 12 title game, Big 12 tournament, and the postseason as well. Obviously, we kick things off with Texas Tech BYU because they play on Thursday to start things. 3-game series out there in Provo. Texas Tech has been just hard to steal a game from. It's why it's so impressive Arizona State was able to do so. I thought they might be able to, and it was good for them that they did. I just don't know that I trust BYU here. The pitching has not been what it was earlier in the season. I don't know that I trust BYU here, even if they have a really good offensive game to be able to steal one. Maybe they can get one, but I don't see how they win this series.
I concur. I think their best shot is the non-Nyjah game. That simple as that. By the way, I think Nyjah is going to have a big offensive series, and I'm talking about her bat. Look for that. That's my prediction.
We say non-Nyjah games a lot. Like sometimes they have games without Nyjah. A lot of times it's just the game that Nyjah doesn't start because they still pull her in because they've built a lead with Riasetto. And so they go, all right, let's just bring Nyjah in and wrap this game up this way. Like there's not a lot of not Nyjah games that Texas Tech has played this season.
Yeah.
Lea, you've been very quiet other than having to listen to Brady throw jabs at you. What are your thoughts on Texas?
Sometimes it's good to just shut my mouth and listen and gain all this wealth of knowledge I'm getting and some jabs here and there.
There's the trash talk queen we all know and love.
Yeah, I mean, to quote what Brady said earlier, like you can try to beat Texas Tech this weekend, but I think they're in the zone. I think they know what's at stake, and I can see them just going 3-0, making it easy this weekend. So, Brady?
Yeah, I'm feeling good with the sweep with Texas Tech and how they're playing. I am just so curious how they do use Nyjah in the circle. If you look at how Stanford used Nyjah in the last few weekends in the Pac-12 conference tournaments, it was very limited. They limited her usage, but I don't think Texas Tech is in that spot to have that luxury. To like limit her innings before the NCAA tournament because you want the host. And so I think that's the biggest detail is like, I think they really need the offense to have a good week and try to use Nyjah as least as possible as they kind of go into the tournament knowing they might need to win the Big 12 tournament.
That one, again, Texas Tech's locked up to 1 seed. BYU right there. The log jam between Iowa State, Arizona State, BYU, Oklahoma State, Baylor, all kind of right there together. And really, you could add in UCF at 9 and 12. Like, it's just so unsettled in the middle. That is a big one for BYU as far as those standings go. We'll save Leah's series here for a minute. UCF on the road at Kansas this weekend in Lawrence for 3 games. Kansas at this point, it's the postseason is win the Big 12 tournament or your season's over. UCF at 9-12 would love to get to 500 in conference play. More importantly, UCF would probably love to avoid a quad 3 loss, especially after they dropped a game to Houston this past weekend. Again, UCF just continues to be like, yes, this is a good team that has bad outings. I'm going to pick UCF to win the series, but we've talked about it all season. It's so hard to sweep. Not that Kansas is great, but I have a hard time seeing UCF going on the road and winning 3 games in Lawrence.
Oklahoma State couldn't do it. Like, Oklahoma State lost the game on Sunday and needed extra innings to win it the second game of the series. So, no, listen, I agree. I think Kansas maybe takes a game. I think UCF wins the series because I think Vega and Felton are too much for Kansas's offense. It just doesn't have the firepower. But, yeah, no, I don't think this is a sweep at all either way.
Oklahoma State needed extra innings and Kansas's relief pitcher to walk in 2 runs to win game 2. I'm
salty
about this weekend.
I'm sensing some anger out of you, Phillip.
It's lack of sleep. I already talked about that.
I mean, I would agree with both of you for this weekend. UCF, no offense, Eric, a little up and down when it comes to series in the Big 12. So I don't think that they're going to sweep, but they'll definitely take 2 from Kansas.
Just remember what Brady said, Leah. UCF Arizona State's in the tournament. While
I don't know.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Leah didn't see me and Brady double teaming on Leah. That's for sure. That was what a swerve that was. If you're a wrestling fan, that's a big shocking angle right there.
Man, for Eric to go from Leah's side to Brady's side.
I know. That was a quick switch up that needs to be studied because we were tight at the beginning of the show.
But you were,
Listen,
sometimes, just a swerve.
Between the selection committee and the Miami Dolphins, there's a lot of things Eric and I are just beat up by in our lives.
The Dolphins took Quinn Ewers, a guy that's brittled and injured all the time, to try to be a backup to a quarterback that's always injured. Why are we doing that? Not to mention our Heat lost by 1,000 points to Cleveland, which was embarrassing. But whatever.
Quinn Ewers, who every time he gets brought up on a fantasy football podcast, is talked about as the reason that Xavier Worthy didn't play as well as he should have. Also known as every wide receiver at Texas didn't play as well as he should. Yeah, no. Okay, we don't talk about Texas anymore or the Heat. Their season's done too. Utah at Oklahoma State. Look, I said it. Oklahoma State should sweep Utah. Normal Oklahoma State should sweep Utah. They should also have swept Kansas last weekend and didn't do it. I don't know how to pick Utah to win a game, but I also don't know that I could pick Oklahoma State to get a sweep here. They have to. You do not want a quad 4 loss on the resume. It's the one thing they have avoided. They've got the 5 quad 3 losses at this point, but they don't have a quad 4. You do not want a quad 4 loss on this resume, or you have sealed your fate in Fayetteville. And I will see you there against whoever is the 3 seed in that one.
I think this is the sweep.
I would love it.
You know what? I'm going to have full confidence. As long as they wear the turquoise uniforms the entire weekend, they will win every single game.
That is a fact.
Yeah, I've texted Serge. I'm like, put them on every game.
And they should listen to you because I'm not kidding you. You tweeted that out the first time. I started following it. I'm like, this is some creepy stuff that's happening because seriously.
There's no way you can do it on Sunday for the senior day. But
yes,
Friday,
you can.
Saturday.
Yeah, there's no rules. There's no rules when it comes to uniforms.
No rules.
If the mojo is working, the mojo is working.
1,000%. I couldn't agree more.
Don't take them off the rest of the season.
Right.
Don't wash them the rest of the season. Don't just don't. That's it. That's it. I think Eric's freezing up a little bit, so I'm not sure he wants to chime in or if he's just.
I will say I'm also going to take UCF to win 2 out of 3.
Okay,
Lawrence.
good.
I think Olivia Bruno is going to have one huge game, though, in her senior weekend. And if you're ever in Lawrence, you have to get Silas and Maddie's ice cream. It's the greatest ice cream ever. I had it 3 times in the 2-day period for my cousin's wedding with my wife and my child, and I just think about it every single day.
I'm down. I'm sold.
No. Good to know. Not a sponsor, but they're welcome to be. Arizona's traveling to Houston. Sweep.
Right. I mean, we don't have to go too deep into. No. Why are you apologizing?
I'm not apologizing. I hate. It's been a long season for Houston.
Yeah. And there was so much like hoorah at the beginning, like excitement, but
it's been a long year for Houston, I would say, given certain things that I have a feeling will probably come to an end soon. But I would expect Arizona to sweep this one and be ready to go for OKC. Last one, of course, we have to talk about is Iowa State senior weekend hosting Baylor. Lea, you're going to be there, right?
I'm going to be there.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
I told Coach Moore when we interviewed him earlier this season, you would be there and look out for you.
Yes.
And I believe that you and Paige Nakashima need to have yourselves
a chirp off. No,
chirp off.
She's ready. Her and I continue to like Snapchat, and she'll tell me all of her little chirps that she gets ready for each game. So I'm ready to hear what she's got.
Get on your world famous TikTok account.
Yep.
Get down there with her, and you two go at it for a little while. We'll.
She would crush me. She's pretty good. She's pretty good.
All right.
And I think they're going to be locked in because I don't know what it is with Iowa State and Baylor, but Iowa State just continues to beat Baylor in situations that Baylor definitely doesn't want to get beat in, whether it's a series or it's the Big 12 tournament. I'm excited to see. It's tough situation. Obviously, I want Iowa State to do so well, but like when Eric was talking about how there's like this chance that Baylor could get in, it's kind of like, well, now it's difficult because I obviously want to see another team in the tournament, another Big 12 team in the tournament, but like obviously, how are you supposed to cheer against Iowa State?
Well, and you don't want to become Coach Glenn Moore's third best friend.
Right. Exactly. What do I do?
Brady, what are your thoughts, man?
I don't know what it is. I get the sense that Iowa State just likes kind of being spoiler for everyone.
Yes.
Yes, they do. Yes.
And, I maybe just like with my son's affiliation, Leah's going to have that win over him too. So they're going to go 4-0. Yeah, and I just think I don't know, I just want to go out on a high note, keep going with this Big 12 record. It's a young team, carry it in, even though they might not make the NCAA tournament. But yeah, and I don't know. I don't think Baylor looked incredibly great last week against BYU. They got the wins in the end, but wasn't great. And so, I don't know. I think they're losing a little bit of steam right now.
It'll be an interesting weekend. It'll be a fun weekend. Again, final week of the regular season. And then the Big 12 tournament gets underway next week on Wednesday. So the next 10-12 softball show will come a little bit earlier. And I have next week's interviews lined up, so I'm very excited about those. I will not tell you who they are, because if I do, they'll get canceled. Or my calendar on my new phone, in which lots of things didn't transfer over to, including phone numbers. So when Brady texted me, I had to be like, dude, I'm really sorry. I don't know who you are. I had to do that to somebody else, and they didn't text me back. So obviously I've upset them by not knowing who they were.
Is that me?
I don't know. Did you ask me to get coffee this week?
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. I just didn't text you back.
All right. Lea, I'm sorry. We've run out of time today, so we won't have time for the Quad City to-do rundown for the weekend, because we have to get to our interview with Devyn Netz. So, again, Brady, man, thank you so much. You do incredible work at Softball America. It is hilarious to me that you have a really funny YouTube account, so that when you come into the live chats during the shows, everyone just knows who your nom de plume is at this point. Hope that Baylor gets well. Congrats on kid number 2 on the way, man. and hopefully we'll get you on again before the season comes to an end. Where can everybody find your work, bud?
Mostly everything is on X, Twitter, or whatever we want to call that these days. Just Brady Vernon. Sophomore account has one L. Don't ask me why. It's just always been that way. Unfortunately, meet us in South Carolina. We're the one Lers in softball. But yeah, everything's on on3.com/softball, and we're gonna jump into portal stuff, really fun stuff. And a lot of things that are coming up that we're really excited to share. But yeah, if you ever catch us in the live show, that is my old gamer account. So if you want some sick Call of Duty clips from me, you can catch those out too.
Are those up to date, or are those like circa 2000, like 6, 7?
It would be Call of Duty Ghosts. So I don't know, like 2011.
Okay. Okay. Some real classic YouTube content. Very good. Of course, if you can find Leah's TikTok, she is world famous on TikTok, Lea Nelson. Lea CJ 12 or 21 everywhere you can find her.
Right.
If you are going to be at the softball this weekend, make sure and say hey to Lea. She'll be there. Tell her we said hi, and throw your best. Oh, I know. If you're going to be at the games this weekend, throw your best chirp at her.
Yes.
Come prepared. Just call her out. Left side, up, down, all of it. Y'all enjoy the games this weekend. I know that we will, and we'll be back next week to preview Big 12 tournament. Thanks again, Eric, as well. Stick around. Devyn Netz coming up. Talk to y'all soon.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
It took some work, but I got to tell you, it was completely and totally worth it to finally have this guest on the show. 2-time and current defending Big 12 pitcher of the week. And the player that we have said for the past few weeks on their show is our Big 12 player of the year this season. From Arizona, senior pitcher Devyn Netz. Devyn, welcome to the 1012 softball show.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to be a part of this. Thank you.
No, thank you. I am thrilled. Arizona has been one of the last schools we've been able to get a guest on for this season. I have been eagerly anticipating the opportunity to pick your brain about softball and talk about Arizona and them being in the Big 12, because it's been so exciting to talk about these new members in this conference. And so I'm thrilled to have you here today. I want to start with this season for you in particular. Again, 2-time Big 12 pitcher of the week, career best ERA in the circle at 2.11, hitting .359, team best 17 home runs. I mean, you are what we would call just like the perfect example of like two-way player. You've been fantastic for Arizona this year. What do you attribute to your development in your senior season to be playing your absolute best, or at least from a statistical standpoint, what we have seen watching? And mind you, I haven't watched a lot of Arizona softball before this year, but you've been having just a phenomenal year. What do you attribute that to?
Definitely just have to say the people that are, I think, that surround me and that have motivated me up until this moment, I would say. And coming off of last year, it was definitely something that I didn't know I actually needed, if that makes sense, to be a part of, to be where I am now. But I think taking that year off and just, kind of seeing, just kind of being the player that people really needed me to be this year. That's what I learned that last year. But I would say this school has shaped me. It's molded me. It's grown me. And I wouldn't change my journey, at all, because this place has shaped me and it's going to prepare me for life after this. And I probably just say all the moments leading up to this year, I just have to dedicate it to all the people that have surrounded me and have just bought into the kind of player that I wanted to be. And they just aspired me to be that. So, yeah.
You kind of touched on last year. For those who don't know, you missed all of last season with an injury. What was last year like for you, having to sit there and not be able to play?
It took a lot out of me for sure, and it was something that I had to really dig deep and find the motivation to not only kind of motivate myself in a way where no one was watching and no one really knew what I was going through, and I kind of had to be a fly on the wall in a moment where we also had a really big season last year as well, making it to a super regional after the year we had previously. So first off, I have to tip my cap to my coaches as well, but coming off of the season that I had my junior year, I just really wanted to be someone that was more well-rounded, more, I'd probably just say all around, just, I guess, more level-headed, strong-headed, if that makes sense. But last year was a lot, and it took a lot of people to stay in my corner and just believe in me and also just check on me and make sure that I was okay. But like I said, that year molded me into the player I am today just because of the hardship I had to go through and just kind of something that the hard work and dedication that really goes into being injured, if that makes sense. When you're injured, you kind of have to work twice as hard, and I never really understood it until I actually went through an injury, and you almost have to work twice, if not 3 times as hard, because you have to be everywhere else and more when you're injured. So I probably just say I have to, I mean, it was a hard year, but it's something that I was really thankful to be a part of, and, actually have that be a part of my, I guess, career, something that I feel like I did backwards, if that makes sense. Usually people redshirt in their freshman year, but I ended up redshirting in my senior year, and that's something that it really helped me take a step back and realize the kind of player I wanted to be and really put that work in and let it see come to fruition, if that makes sense.
All right, so this is your final senior or final year, your senior year, redshirt senior, as you mentioned. You had to redshirt what was supposed to be your last year. You got an extra year, which, obviously you hated missing last year, but getting that extra year to still be able to play, it's got to be great. It's going to be, and it's been a fantastic year for you so far. As you get close to the end of the year, understanding it's just your final season at Arizona as a player, you had senior day a couple weeks ago in that Sunday finale against Texas Tech. What are some of the thoughts going through your head? What are some of the things you're starting to kind of feel and notice as you get closer to the end of your Arizona career?
I think the first things first is knowing that this is my last month and a half of being able to wear this Arizona uniform. It's something that I've worn the last 5 years, and every time I put it on, I try not to take it for granted, because it's something that not only I've been so blessed to be a part of, but something that just this uniform just holds so much tradition, and there's a lot of legacy behind it. So I think just honestly going into this last month and a half is realizing that. But honestly, just being a really stable player for my team, someone that they can rely on in the circle, someone that they can rely on at first base, and someone that they can also rely on in that 4 spot when we need a run, when it's maybe just a 1-run game that we need, or maybe it's just to, get that last run that we need to, get a run rule win. But whatever it is, I just want to be in this last month and a half, just be the kind of player, a kind of stable player that my team can look to and rely on at any moment.
What do you want your legacy to be there at Arizona?
I want it to be something, and that's a really good question, but I probably want it to be, in a way, anyone that walks through these doors to Arizona to come play for this program is to know that you can be anything that you want to be. You can pursue any major you want to pursue. You can be whatever kind of player you want to be. You can be a 2-way player. You can be the best pitcher. You can be the best hitter, but I want everyone to know that it comes with hard work, and it comes with the people that surround you. And that's one thing I've loved about this coaching staff, is that they've really, solidified and brought home to the point of, like, this is your career, this is what you make of it. And I am honestly so grateful and thankful for that kind of leadership, because they've let me create the kind of career that I want, and the kind of, just the kind of person and player that I want to be. But if I'm going to leave it behind any legacy, it's to be the best athlete I can be on both sides of the ball. And that's something that I think every softball player should strive to be, no matter who they are or what kind of player they want to be.
I would say that your team has the talent and the discipline and I think just the softball chops to go all the way this year. Obviously, that's going to be a goal for you as you head into postseason. You got one regular season weekend left this weekend on the road at Houston, but how much of your focus, how much you guys talking and thinking about these last few weeks beyond just this 3 games in Houston you've got to face this weekend?
I mean, my coach always talks about just the one win, or just like the team that we're going to face next, and it's always the next opponent. So right now, I think really just focused on Houston and clinching that series as well. But I think also it's just knowing that if we put our best foot forward from here on out, I think we're going to have a really great run. And I think all we've thought about and where we've had our eyes on this entire season is making it to the World Series, because every single one of our players on this team has that dream to be a part of, just kind of making that little girl proud inside of them, or, that little girl that used to play softball 10, 15 years ago, just kind of making them proud. And just knowing that making those dreams into a reality, especially because that's been the forefront of our fall. That's been the forefront of our January practices. And now it's been the forefront of just playing each game every season, or, every game this season. So I think just knowing that taking one game at a time is super important right now. So it's hard not to think about postseason right now, but this next week's going to be really crucial for us and where we're going to place in postseason.
Yeah. I mean, look, I am an RPI junkie. You guys look like a team that is going to be hosting a regional this year. Depending on how things go, maybe a top 8 seed. How great would it be to be able to be out there in your final year playing the postseason there at home?
I think just to me as a 5th year, and this is my final season, I think it would mean a lot. And I think just making a run, I mean, I don't really care anywhere that I go as long as you just, give me the ball or just give us the ball. If you could give anyone on our team the ball, we're going to make it worthwhile. And I think it means a little bit more because the Tucson community really just surrounds us, and they are just the most encouraging and uplifting fans that we have. I mean, they always pack the stands, especially when it's a, maybe a ranked matchup or even a postseason matchup. They always make, let's just say they always make the opponent's life a little hell, if that makes sense. But if anything, we have a great fan base, and bringing that here home, I think, and playing at home will not only make their 2025 year, but also would make my 5th year even more special.
That's fantastic. You guys have a great fan base, beautiful stadium from what I've been able to see. It's on my list of places to get out to at some point. You guys are in the Big 12 this year. Your final season, you get to be part of the team that joins a new conference. We talk to coaches and administrators all the time. What's it like as a player going from the Pac-12, the familiarity with those programs that you'd faced for 4 different seasons? Obviously, Arizona State joins you. Utah joins you. You guys play BYU fairly often, but still to be in a new conference this year for your final year. What's this transition been like in the Big 12?
I think obviously coming from the Pac-12, you can't sleep on any team in the Pac-12, and that's what I learned my first 4 years. And the Pac-12 was great competition, but I think going to the Big 12 has really taught us that you can't sleep on any team in the country, because, I mean, it doesn't matter the way you look at them, but what really matters is that you have to respect every team that you go face-to-face with, and that's what we've learned this year. And we've had some tough losses where we shouldn't have been in those situations, in my opinion, but I think we've really had to learn that we need to respect every opponent, no matter what program they're a part of, because the Big 12 is also a great conference as well because of all the changes as well. So if I have to say anything, it's just to respect every opponent, and that's what we've learned, especially in the Big 12.
I have really felt since it was announced that the Corner 4 were coming over that Arizona is just a perfect fit for the Big 12 conference. A basketball school that loves football, really cares about its Olympic sports like softball. And I feel like Arizona has been a fantastic fit in this conference. And I think Arizona softball, obviously you have the program with a ton of history. And we're not talking about replacing Oklahoma and Texas, but I feel like Arizona has been a fantastic fit in this Big 12 conference with Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech, and Kansas, and Iowa State. And I have really enjoyed Arizona softball this season, and seeing you guys have the season that you have. I mean, just being around these other, traveling to Big 12 schools, playing these other Big 12 teams. Has it felt that big of a difference between like Big 12 softball versus what Pac-12 softball was?
Yes and no. I think honestly, it's just new places, if that makes sense. New places to travel and new faces that I guess new like looks when it comes to like facing postseason teams, because it was really different facing Oklahoma State in the conference series when we faced them in the super regional. So I think it's just knowing that these teams are also top contenders for postseason, and I mean the SEC is riddled with them as well. But I think just knowing that, like I said, you can't sleep on any of these teams, but it's just different seeing the I guess you could say new places, and not only just new places, but also just kind of like the different programs that you will probably see and you can probably match up with in postseason. So, it's nice getting a look at them in a 3-game series, but also knowing that you only play like, I think, is it 9 weekends when it comes to conference play, and that's not even all the Big 12 schools. So knowing that you can face a certain amount of 9 teams this season, but you might face someone else in the Big 12 that you haven't even seen yet. And that's also what we probably could see in the Big 12 tournament. So I think it's just knowing that Big 12 conference is bigger, but I think it's cool traveling to new places, because I'm so used to traveling in the Big 12. But just knowing that can't really see on the Big 12 and teams that are up and coming as well.
Look, I love Arizona in the Big 12, but yeah. Arizona UCF being a conference series in the Big 12 conference is never going to be normal. It's just never going to.
I know.
Feel weird to say that.
Always.
But it is what it is now. Look, this is the end of your playing career for Arizona, but it's not necessarily the end of your softball career.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you on the golden ticket to AUSL, the Athletes Unlimited Summer League. We love what they're setting up there. What was that moment like for you to get that golden ticket, to know that you have an opportunity to keep your softball career going, and just what are your thoughts on potentially joining the AUSL this summer?
I think I kind of was stuck in the moment a little bit. I kind of got people would say blacked out, but I kind of just was awestruck, if that makes sense. But that was a cool moment to be a part of, and just seeing where the game's going is really cool. And I was really talking to my head coach about it, and I was like, I don't really know what all this means. This is so new. And she goes, Devyn, compared to when I played professional softball, this is something that you need to realize that it's very well organized, much more organized than when I played, but something that's handled very professionally. And I think it's really cool that you got chosen to be, in the inaugural season for this AUSL league. And when I was in that moment and I got the ticket, I didn't think I was going to be one of those 12 girls. And here I am, and I'm just enjoying every moment of my 5th year. And this is one of the coolest moments that I think has been a part of my softball career, and has just been a really touching moment, especially just what I've been through last year and just seeing all my hard work pay off in this next year. So, yeah.
It's exciting. 4 teams playing each other across the country, all the way up in Washington, playing in Round Rock, Texas, Salt Lake City, out in North Carolina, Alabama. It's such a cool thing. I'm working very hard to see if I can get my girls out there for at least one game, maybe over there in Norman or up in Wichita. But look, I think it's such a cool thing. I think it's a great concept, and to be part of the inaugural season, whichever team you get to play for, fingers crossed, Bandits or Volt, those are the 2 teams I have adopted. It's just super cool. And I'm excited to see where you end up and get to talk to you again in the future about your experience this summer.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Look, okay. Devyn, you've been awesome. We're going to wrap this up with a few quick questions that I've thrown at everybody this season.
Yeah.
Just for a little fun. All right. So number 1, what is your walk-up song this year?
Hitting or pitching?
Both.
We have 2 for each. So
okay. Let's hear all 4.
So for hitting, I have Big Energy by Lotto. That's one of not only my favorites, but my team favorite. My team loves that one. And I also have Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy as my other hitting one. And then when it comes to pitching, I have Play Something Country by Brooks and Dunn. And then there's one by Thomas Rhett. I forgot. It's in the new Twisters movie, but the reason why I picked it is because it says she's twirling in her Tacovas, her Wranglers better hold on tight or whatever. So I am like obsessed with the boot brand Tacovas, and I have like 6 pairs of Tacovas. I have 8 boots total, but I have 6 pairs of Tacova boots. So that's why when it said like, she's in her Tacovas, I was like, I have to do that. Like it's so fitting. So shout out to Tacovas. Please give me one more deal. I love your brand. So, but yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, if you could pick any company to do an NIL deal with, what would it be?
Any company.
Yeah. Anyone's going to be like, Devyn, we're here. We would love to sign you for some advertising. Who would you love that to be?
I would love to do Wrangler or Buckle or even like Boot Barn, like one of those, or even like, I love like the Cavenders too. Like, I don't know. I think those are really cool. I mean, I feel like Boot Barn and Cavenders are like kind of the same, but we don't really have that out here. But I like, honestly, any country western. I have a lot of different brands that I love, but I love the Buckle Black brand when it comes to the Buckle store. But even Boot Barn and Wranglers too, I have their jeans as well.
Okay, all right, we'll see what we can do. I have no connections, but never hurts to tweet at them. Peanut butter and jelly. What's your jelly of choice?
Probably grape. Has to be grape.
Okay. Classic. Very good.
Good old Welch's grape. That's all.
What is your what's your game day ritual?
Game day ritual. So I'm a part of FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and our I guess chaplain or our FCA leader, Eric Lopez, he always shares with us a few passages from just kind of like a game day devotion. But I've also, I think, have added into my ritual reading Psalm 23 before my games, and that's just something that I always do. And it's, it's a passage in the Bible, but that's something that I always do, and I always pray before my game as well.
That's awesome. You brought it up, so I've got to ask. I mean, if someone who's making sure that they're reading specific passages out of the Bible for a game, I mean, your faith must be really important to you.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian household, and I went to private school as well. And it wasn't until I really appreciated my private school education until I went to public school my senior year of high school out here in Tucson. But I'm really, really thankful for the upbringing that I've had with my, just my parents always instilling my faith in me. And it's just, my faith actually brought me to this university because I had other plans to go other places, but this is where God opened doors for me. And clearly this is the best choice for me, and something that this is the environment that I've thrived in. And I just have to thank God for all my recognition, all my accomplishments, and just where he's brought my feet today.
I'm a very big believer on, if you let him, he will put you where you're supposed to be, or at least where he wants you to be. It may not always be where you want to be, but it's where he wants you. And I think that's something that's really carried me well through life, as being, okay, this is where he wants me, and I've just got to figure out why.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And my story is very unorthodox when it comes to, I guess you could say, being an Arizona Wildcat and becoming one as well. And I think it's a story that I use as my testimony for my faith, and I hope that when people hear my testimony, that it brings others to that faith as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, last one before we get you out of here. Who is the biggest trash talker on this team?
I had to say Reagan Shockey, but she's so, she grew up with 4 brothers, so you just have to expect that from her. So she loves to poke at people, and it makes me laugh because that's the environment that I grew up in, because I grew up with 2 older brothers as well. So we grew up in an all-boy household pretty much, so I relate to her and I laugh. But she is someone that is she's brutally honest, and she makes me laugh, but she's someone that is just one of the greatest teammates that I've had here at Arizona. And she not only just she makes me laugh and just kind of makes me think of the game lightly, but she also is just one of the competitors that I want to play for always, and that I always want her in my corner. And I have to say that this year she's been a really big help in just, being that outside perspective, especially from the outfield, just always motivating me and always helping me stick to my game And I also have to give a shout out to her because she's just been amazing this year. And she's just been someone that's always been in my corner. And I just want her to know that I'm always in her corner. But biggest trash talker, definitely Reagan, but it's for the better. But she makes all of us laugh. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Devyn, you've been great. Thank you so much for your time. Congrats again on your Big 12 Pitcher of the Week award and this absolutely incredible season. And good luck to you and your team as you head into the postseason. I hope Arizona goes as far as you can.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me and taking time out of your day to do this as well.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.